All right, welcome to the circuit. This is Alec Kinsky. We're joined by my co-host Alex Karamenos and four guests that were at our weekend's event, the Juneteenth Invitational. We got Rashad Phillips, Miles Masarcola, Zain, Motani, and Ani Umana on our roundtable here, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Always.
So guys, I'm just going to jump right into this. We're going to kind of break this up into a couple different segments. We're going to talk about our favorite player of the weekend. We're going to talk about our biggest breakout players of the weekend. And then we're going to unveil our awards. So, I'll kick this right off. As I know there's going to be some overlap in who we talk about and the awards we give out. So Rashad, you came to the event, first big grassroots basketball event of the year for you. Who was the player that opened your eyes the most?
You know, it's crazy, man. I had such a great time just seeing so many wonderful, kids, talented kids playing the game the right way. But I came in with these thoughts that were given to me before I saw anybody, right? And the kid that really surprised me was Bronny James, man. Honestly, like I was impressed at how the kid handled himself. Defensively, he was terrific. He was a fantastic athlete, and he just played the game the right way. And, you hear all these stories about these type of kids, right? And so you don't want to make any judgment until you see them with your own eyes. And I was very impressed with him.
Yeah, and that kind of opens up our round table segment, our topic, which was Bronny James. It was my first. Personally, I said it on the call with Miles, and I'll pivot to you, right after this, because I know you're excited to see him as well. His ability to get in transition and go and get downhill was what raised my eyebrows the most.
Yeah, it was fun to see him play. Obviously, anytime you have a kid who the legacy's there, you want to see him in person. And I think the best thing about Bronny, kind of like Rashad said, is like he clearly enjoys playing the game. He enjoys the finer aspects of the game. He does the little things. He's diving on the floor for loose balls, pushing in transition with his eyes up. And another thing to take into account is he's still trying to shake the rust off. He was out for like 3 to 5 months with that knee injury. I think this is only his third or fourth game back, kind of coming into this event. So it was good to see him continue to get himself back into form and play a productive brand of basketball, helping his team win, playing up in age group. So it was an impressive weekend from Bronny.
Yeah, I think that's what's most forgotten about, watching him play, especially for a casual fan, is that he is playing up. Zain, I know you were courtside for his games. What were your takeaways?
Very similar to what Miles shared. I think his ability to get a rebound or get a steal and immediately look up and not take too many dribbles, especially when he has the athletes on the team, Devontae Cobb, Shai Odom, that he does, really impressed me. I think people will, especially as he starts to play more and recovers from his injury, that basketball IQ comparison to LeBron, I think it's already happened for folks that have been watching him for 2 years. And I think it's only going to continue to grow as a very common and similar attribute as he has to his father.
For sure. The feature role was cool to see him in this weekend as well. He was a main facilitator. Alex, what was your favorite part about Bronny's game?
Favorite part about Bronny's game from this weekend is his craftiness around the rim. I know there was a specific play. He's getting downhill like we've been talking about. Midair splits 2 defenders and finishes with his left hand on the right side. I just love this craftiness around the rim and his ability to get to the rim like that was said, and like that was in a short amount of dribbles.
Yeah, for sure. Ani, what were your takeaways? Might have lost Ani. We will come back.
I'm here. Yeah, hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry. I was area. No, really the jump shooting for me with Bronny, even though the game I did see, he didn't make a lot of shots. You can just see it, how it looks like. And, even when the shots were going in, I mean, it looked good. Just the makes and misses look good. I think there's a real promise with his jump shooting. And that was the one thing that really was my big takeaway with Bronny. I knew he had high feel. I seen him a few years ago with high feel just as a passer, just a ball mover. and just really be able to operate in space. But just his jump shooting, I think he's made some strides there.
Yeah, it looks, and he had a couple off the bounce, which were impressive. The catch and shoot's going to come. So, guys, we'll keep going around the table here with our favorite player of the weekend. That led us right into our round table, which was great. Zain, who was your favorite player of the weekend?
My favorite player of the weekend was Ryan Agarwal, Stanford commit, shooting guard on 3D Empire, has had a reputation for a couple of years now of being one of the best shooters in Texas. I think he's maybe been a little bit more streaky this summer, still a very good shooter, but a little bit more streaky at times where he can get hot and score 20 points and a half. What really impressed me this weekend was two things in addition to his shooting. One, he can really get separation on his jumpers. So even if he's in mid-range, he can take a half step back and he's comfortable fading away over and shooting over the outstretched arms of the defender, which prevents him from getting blocked. And the attribute that really impressed me this weekend was when he was in the pick and roll. And this Empire team, they run their offense largely through Anthony Black and Cam Embry, but he handled the ball a little bit more this weekend. And when he would get a good pick, his bigs did a really good job of rolling, and how he threaded the needle and split the defense with the pass to set his bigs, who are going to go up strong for a layup or dunk, up for success. Really, I think bodes well if he does need to have the ball a little bit more in his hands at Coppell or even at Stanford.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll go next for my favorite player was Keon Webb, who also had to have the ball in his hands a lot, had a lot of responsibility this weekend. I know, Rashad and Miles were on the call with me and didn't seem to make many mistakes operating in the pick and roll, made a bunch of shots, 6'2", 6'3", sturdy, looks like he's going to get bigger. He just really impressed me all weekend. He won them a game essentially, and his ability to play, just as strong defensively and lock down defensively, was definitely eye-opening. I know he was on your list as well, Miles.
Yeah, seeing kind of Keon playing the regional stuff down here in North Carolina, he had shown that promise, but for him to come to a national level event and show that with really having to take on a much bigger load than usual because no Po' Boy King, no Taichiki Musaka, no Lorian Walker. And, there's a lot of special guards in the 2023 class in North Carolina. You think about Robert Dillingham, Trey Green, Jalen Curry, Aiden Holloway, Silas Demery Jr., Keon Webb has now earned himself a seat at that table. And for him to do that playing for Sheed, it has been really, really awesome to see. And it's great to kind of see him be one of the faces of this new program in the state of North Carolina that will surely be around for years to come.
Yeah, and I won't steal your shine on your favorite player of the weekend.
Yeah, man, it was my first time seeing Anthony Black in person, and I was simply blown away. I mean, to have that size with that feel and the vision, the ability to kind of contort his body in the lane when he goes up for finishes, the shooting touch, he really is the whole package. And you look at national rankings, and obviously, rankings don't really matter. It's crazy to see some of the names listed ahead of him. Like, it's a little ridiculous. So I think, getting that Duke offer the other day will probably get the ball rolling a little bit for him. And I like that fit a lot, especially with him kind of coming in with Shire. So I was blown away with his performance. He was definitely the guy, on my mind throughout the entire weekend. Like, wow, this kid is really, really, really special.
Too much of a stretch to compare him to Cade Cunningham. Not saying he's as good as the presumptive number one pick in the draft, but similar body type, good at, not great, but above average athleticism and just a unique feel for the game, a good enough shooter, really good facilitator, can get steals, can get blocks as well. Is that a fair comparison?
Yeah, the one word I guess you would say is control. He was always in control of everything throughout the entire weekend, and not many kids can say that.
He's only going to get stronger too. So, I haven't put my finger on a comp yet, but he was really, really impressive. And I think he's only going to get better around talent. Alex, favorite recruit of the weekend?
Yeah, my favorite guy from this past weekend, I'm going to go down to the 15U level, and I'm going to go with one of the highest rated recruits from the 2024 class, Liam McNeely. He had a breakout game where he went for 39 points, and I think it was out of his team's 54 points. But yeah, he impressed me every game that I watched him. He can score at all three levels. He can bring smaller defenders down into the post and score with his back towards the basket. He can face up out of the post. He can guard multiple positions, and he's got a smooth jumper from the outside. He just has a complete game and just tons of upside because, like I said, he's only at the 15U age group right now. And he's just got tons of time to build, tons of time to work on specific parts of his game, get in the weight room a little bit, get a little faster. And there is nothing more that you can ask for from a kid at his age right now.
Yeah, USA basketball invite as well. And I know Ani and Zain were pretty familiar with Leon coming into the weekend as well. Ani, favorite recruit of the weekend, favorite prospect.
It was my first time seeing Ryan Forrest from Arkansas that played on Nike Pro Skills 16s. 6'3", long arm, wing type, big time athlete, really finished above the rim in transition, but I saw some real promise with just his jump shooting, especially off the catch. He made a couple threes. I just like his motor. You can tell he a lot done. Just, rebounding, in traffic and, be able to push the ball and hit shots. I talked to his pops for a little bit, and his younger, they're basically twins in a sense, but it's 2023 Jaden Forrest, but they kind of talk about ECU and Cincinnati and kind of been Arkansas has been in the mix, and more Power Fives have started to call. He's a kid that, just really looking at his positional size and in his promising offensive game, I think he has a chance.
Yeah, for sure. It makes that team a lot better since they joined Pro Skills. All right, Rashad, we'll head back to you. I know you liked a pair of teammates on Team Trae Young. One stood out and really had a great weekend in RYLAN GRIFFEN, then, also Lee Dort.
Yeah, I really like that team. I mean, Lee Dort was tremendous, a big fella, but, RYLAN GRIFFEN for me took me back to 1996 when I played against a guy named Richard Hamilton. Extremely athletic, move well without the ball, and just loves the second level. And, you don't see a lot of dominant second level scorers in high school. And that's what I loved about RYLAN's game. He's a Richard Hamilton with more bounce in his step. And obviously Lee Dort and Noah Shelby, a hybrid guard, just seeing him up close and his ability to disrupt at all times with his jump shot, with his playmaking, with his range. That team was very impressive for me to watch.
Yeah, and they're highly ranked. Went 3-1 this weekend. Have the highest strength of schedule in the country. So definitely testing themselves and prove themselves to be worthy of a top 25 spot. We'll move down the list. Zain, who was your biggest breakout guy? Who stood out the most or made the biggest leap?
Big breakout guy, I'm going to go down to the 15U ranks like Alex did. Victorious Miller, 2024 player on Strive for Greatness. This is probably the team that's known as the Bryce James team, younger brother of Bronny, but they've got a slew of prospects. What I really like about Victorious was his feel for the game. And I feel for the game is the most thrown around term to describe like really good players. I think I said it to describe Cade Cunningham and Anthony Black, but he seemed to have a very good balance of I need to score at this moment versus I'm going to pass up a good shot because my teammate has a great shot and I want to get my teammate in rhythm for the duration of the game. For a freshman to have that sort of mentality and that approach was very impressive to me. I think of Anthony Black, sort of taller, 6'4", 6'5" guard, longer arms, good, not great athleticism, but again, that feel for the game, and I got to put $1 in the cookie jar every time someone says that feel for the game really is there with Victorious and Anthony Black.
Yeah, and I think he kind of just, led that team the same way as 17U's played. They played hard, they played as a team, they made the right pass. And the 15s, definitely were off and running, and Victorious and Malik Rasul as well on that team. Jaden Nickens, that 15U team is going to be a problem. Miles, biggest breakout of the weekend.
Biggest breakout of the weekend. I don't, it's kind of weird to say breakout for a kid that's already been very well known, but Ja Jackson is proving himself to be a very legitimate Division I basketball prospect because of the progress that he's made in his game.
That's a fair answer for me, because at some point you got to prove it with the potential, and I agree. I think he did it this weekend.
Yeah, and I think the continued progression that he's made in his body, 2 more years at IMG, and another summer in a college weight program once he goes that route or whatever route he does decide to go. He's gonna be a very, very good player at the next level. And I think the soft hands, the feet, the footwork down low, the ability to shield off other post players down low and get his buckets over other big guys was really impressive. Another kid playing up and not really playing with any fear, playing with a chip on his shoulder, being a good teammate. He just kind of showed that, he's a serious basketball prospect. And obviously when you get attached to guys like Bronny James, people may, think, oh, he's part of this whole thing. But in reality, all these kids from that group are showing that they're real live Division I basketball prospects. And it's great to see them really prove it on a high level.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like I said before, he's only going to get in better shape. That footwork and the ability to finish around the basket was strong too. Ani, biggest breakout of the weekend for you?
Again, kind of going back, talking about, just players that are already established. But like Jordan Walsh, for example, obviously he's a 4-star recruit. I saw some things different in his game, just as far as, just really be able to break a slower footed player down off the bounce and be able to score. I think his jump shooting's really shown some improvement. I think the game's really starting to slow down for him as well. He used to just make sloppy passes, especially in the half court setting, but doing a better job at that. I think he's really starting to turn the corner. He had a good Pangos out there, and I think he's just continuing like his strong play, just showing his versatility. I don't think there's many players in that class in the country in a loaded 22, especially when it comes to wings, that are as versatile as Jordan Walsh.
Yeah, and I think he got so much bigger.
Yes.
And speak to this by being around pros his whole life. When you get bigger and you add that strength, it takes a while to, adjust to that and figure out what you can and can't do and the quickness that you still have. And I'm really impressed with Jordan Walsh. I think he certainly showed well for himself. Alex, I'll go last after you.
Yeah, so my breakout from this past weekend, I haven't watched him a lot, but watching him this weekend, he really opened my eyes into how good this kid is. Amari Abram, Texas kid, but he ran with Strive for Greatness this past weekend. Thing that I noticed most about Amari is I don't think he cares whoever is in front of him. I know that he's going to defend, and I know now that he's going to go hard. The lefty guard, like I said, he's a really hard-nosed defender. He's picking up right when the ball handler would pass half court, attacks the rim hard. Bunch of times during his games, he would finish high off the glass when attacking the rim on either side. Makes plays for his teammates. He was really good in pick and roll play. He was patient in it, made good dump off passes. And yeah, he just plays extremely hard. And that's really, really what I like from him is how hard he played.
His facial expression never changes. I don't think he can be rattled. I think he confuses defenders because he's left-handed, or confuses when he's on defense because he's left-handed. And you always say don't reach, right? Reach one, teach one. Well, every time I feel like he reached and he gambled, he'd make contact with the ball without fouling.
Yeah, he was very
impressive. Go ahead.
His steal against, I think it was Strive for Greatness, where he picked the defender at half court, took it the length of the court, got fouled, was perhaps the single most clutch defensive play that I saw all weekend.
Yeah, I think that was against Drive. That was he made a lot of game-changing plays. When we mentioned it on the broadcast, when he came against Shewall Select, he turned around the entire game because he picked up Keon Webb. And Keon Webb was fantastic. So he was kind of the difference maker there. My guy that really stood out was the Dallas Seawolves point guard, Joshire Sharif. Team played a really entertaining style of basketball. They gave Drive Nation all they could handle. He's a 2022 guard, currently doesn't have a home for a prep school, is looking for one. Had a really, really strong weekend. Has plenty of athleticism, got his teammates involved. super quick with the ball in his hands, and did a little bit of everything for that team. So,
That's a good one.
Yeah, he was impressive. I was interested to see what that Seawolves team would bring to the table. They were supposed to be bringing Jai Smith, and we all saw what he decided to do the day after, which explains why he wasn't there. So good luck to Jai over. Yeah, now we're gonna run down the quickly down the list of players that made the all tournament team. So we'll start with third team quick. We'll touch on some guys that we might not have mentioned before, but there's obviously going to be a lot of double up. So third team first listed is Josh Sharif. Just mentioned him for the Dallas Seawolves. Obviously he's should be a pretty major prospect for prep teams looking to add a piece to their backcourt. Then we got Jamar Jenkins. He was on the Mississippi D1 Ambassadors. They came in, played a really entertaining style of basketball, had a lot of guards, and he really stood out. Averaged one of the only average 20 plus points per game in the tournament. Also on third team, Jordan Walsh. Mentioned him before. Drive Nation struggled a little bit, but Jordan certainly showed well for himself. Ryan Agarwal, Zain mentioned him before. Ryan averaged 16 points a game, certainly did a lot of other little things to help 3D. Noel Kabanga for D1 Nation put up some of the most impressive stats of the weekend. 6'3" physical guard, averaged 21 points on almost 14 boards a game. So they didn't find the win column, but Noel certainly played well, showed well for himself. JAHZARE Jackson rounds out the third team. Miles mentioned him before, a very strong weekend. Moving on to second team, Kyron Lindsay. I know you guys are familiar with him in Texas, Geyer product. Zain or Ani, if either one of you want to touch on Kyron, he averaged 17 and 12. Max levels went 4-0. They're about to be in our next ranking subset. One of the best independent teams in the country the first year doing things. Did either of you get to see Lindsay play at all?
Yeah, I got to see Lindsay about 2 games. Lefty with a strong body, real versatile. Really can score inside and out. Kyron really plays. He plays with a motor. He just gets a lot of stuff done. He really kind of leads the front court for max levels. And like you said, win 4-0 this weekend. They've been one of the best independent teams in the country. And Terrell Woody and Josh Wilson have done a really good job with those guys. But Kyron is really really established himself as a big-time Division I prospect. Kind of excited. I'm happy to see where his growth has gone the past 6 to 8 months.
Plays hard.
Go ahead, Zain.
He plays hard. He's not afraid to go up and dunk with you on the left hand. He reminds me a little bit of Jordan, like a left-handed version of Jordan Walsh. Just plays tenacious, plays hard, skilled enough, and because he plays so hard and with so much aggression, it's going to get him incremental points and incremental rebounds over his comparison.
Yeah, and their sponsors certainly showing well for themselves. Rashad and I watched a little bit of that game on the broadcast, and Tyrese Maxey will. Good to see he's having success. His program's having a lot of success as well. Moving on, Zuby, Ejiofor, had one of the best, got a runner-up for performance of the weekend. Had they won the game, probably would have taken it home. Had 35 points, 15 rebounds, shot 12 of 14 from the floor. Was an animal against 3D Empire, who's a ranked team. Just had no answer for him. He leads our second team. Daniel Sykes earns a spot on the second team. Lone Star Elite product, average just under 20 points a game. Was really dynamic with the ball in his hands. RYLAN Griffin, Rashad spoke at length about him before. Also took home, I don't think this is the one award we haven't named yet. We might put it up for a vote, but best dunk of the weekend. Had a poster against Strive for Greatness, which had people out of their seats. Keon Webb earned second team nomination. Honestly, would be a first teamer if they had won one more game probably, but showed really, really well for himself. Cannot believe that he doesn't have an offer. Very, very surprising.
It's criminal.
Yeah, it really is. Speaking of criminally underrated, I think JAYLON Johnson is super underrated for Texas TakeOver. It spent his previous spring with Drive Nation Houston, led TakeOver to a 4-0 record at the Juneteenth Invitational, averages 16 points, 3 assists, played really well. He rounds out the The second team, then the first team, Sykes' teammate from Lone Star Elite, Dallas Hobbs. Those two, I know Hobbs is pretty polarizing recruit in the state. A lot of people like him. Averaged 18 and 6. They went 3 and 1. Noah Shelby, second on first team. Noah played, Noah did what Noah does. Didn't score as much this weekend, but really defended well, I thought. Averaged 12, 5 and 4. So, kept him steady, went 3 and 1. Amari Abram, next on the list. Alex touched on him before. He was one of my favorite guys of the weekend. He normally runs with Houston Hoops and Chris Johnson. So they'll be back with Houston Hoops, and Houston Hoops also has Zuby, who plays with them during July. They also have Cam Corrin. They have BB Knight. They will be a problem in July when they all team up. CJ Luster also takes home our offensive player of the session, is also on our first team. Really put up some monstrous numbers over the weekend, and really is the catalyst for that max levels team. I personally think he's the most underrated guard in the class. Anthony Black, also on first team. Anthony, got a Duke offer right after. It's got to say something, right? Yeah, he might be ranked 82nd in the class. He might be misranked by a bunch of different national outlets, but Duke Duke offering him definitely validates, his national standing. I thought he backed that up about him, but I feel like that's when he plays best, is CASON Wallace. He played about as well as you can play, and got pro skills to another 3-0 record for the weekend, average 16 and 8, just looks the part, super physical. So we're going to get to the, some of the funner, the more fun awards. Alex, you mentioned McNeely before. He takes home best performance for the 39, best underclassman performance for the 39 he put up. Really, watching the footage back, super impressive performance. Best team of the weekend was Team Fox. De'Aaron Fox's 15U team came in and played all sponsored or NBA sponsored programs and went 4-0, capping it off with a win over Strive for Greatness. A lot of talent for the Houston-based team. And then, like we said, best dunk, that'll be up in the air. We got a couple different options. We'll be tweeting those off. Best performance. I know we were watching this, Miles and I couldn't believe it. Josh Aduje couldn't miss in his performance against 3D Empire at 32 points, shot nearly 70% from the floor. Really, really impressive. Breakout player we named was Keon Webb. We hope he breaks out even more and earns his first offer. Defensive player of the session, Rashad touched on him before. Lee DORT averaged nearly 4 blocks a game, contested everything, stayed out of foul trouble, which is huge for Lee because they don't really have options in the front court behind him. Offensive, like I said, CJ Luster just put up some massive numbers, clearly better than the person they put in front of him when he gets out there recently. And then our MVP. I think personally, I kept finding reasons to say, oh, he's not going to be able to do that again. And then by the end of the third game, I'm like, well, I think I'm just completely wrong. Was DJ Smith. And I know, Rashad, you love a little guard when you see one. And we repeatedly kept saying the different ways he's getting things done, for pro skills, helped him go 3-0, unsigned senior right now, doesn't have a Division I offer. I guess we'll end with a little roundtable about DJ. I know everyone saw him. Rashad, what'd you think about what your takeaways on DJ?
Yeah, the first possession of the game that I saw him, I knew he zoomed past somebody on the ball screen, and I looked at y'all like, who was that kid? Very first play, and from then on, he was pretty much the most dominant player on the court. Like, he was just impactful. Every time he stepped on the floor, he was picking guys up 94 feet. He was beating people with his speed. He reminded me a little bit of Ty Lawson. He had a Ty Lawson vibe to him. And, obviously I love small guards, so it caught my attention immediately.
Well, I think that's a great comparison. Miles, you're a Carolina guy.
Yeah.
Ty Lawson, what you, and you were on the call too, so you saw
Miles saw it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was impressive to see, because it's always great, like kind of like Rashad said, that whenever you see that sawed off point guard, that smaller guy just completely control the game at both ends of the floor, just setting the tone. Nobody could stop him one-on-one. Whenever he had shooters on the perimeter, he found them on his attacks. If they weren't collapsing in, he was finishing with a layup below the rim. It didn't matter, and like you said, Alec, every game it was like, all right, is this kid going to misstep here? No, he didn't. And it was against elite competition all weekend long. The kid's an unsigned senior. He's clearly playing with that level of desperation you need to play with if you're an unsigned senior playing at this point. And it's about damn time he gets rewarded for it. So, if he continues to perform like this, there's no reason why his phone shouldn't be buzzing throughout the rest of June and July, heading into hopefully where he can find a home for the fall.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, look at his numbers. He averaged almost 8 rebounds a game. His ability to get in and really get it and go. I feel like a couple of times where teams were making runs, he'd get a couple rebounds, go coast to coast, get a finish, and then, he's just so much quicker than everyone else.
All while picking up 94 feet on what for the most part was the more dominant ball handler of the opposition. So it was a two-way performance for all 3 games, and it was fun to watch.
Yeah, and look,
like I told Miles during one of the games we were calling of his, I said, there's no defense for speed.
Yeah, 100%.
In any sport, football, soccer, basketball, baseball, there's no defense for speed. Right. And he epitomized that statement this weekend. There was no defense for his speed.
He had the burst and the straight line speed as well, which if you have those two combined, good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
He finisher too. Every time I'm like, oh man, he's getting in with the bigs, and he'd finished with the proper hand, and he'd control his body, and he'd be back playing defense like that. And I know, for the diehard grassroots fans, Pro Skills is known. This is what they're known for. They're known for taking guys and putting them on the map. They did it with Mitchell Robinson. They did it with Andrew Jones. They did it with Jarrett Culver. They did it with a number of guys where they weren't really known beforehand on the national level. And Jeff Webster just sings DJ Smith's praises. So, definitely a well-earned MVP award for him. Averaged 16.7 points,